all the game will be difficult. They are all strong players. We know each other. We just need to win two games to access to the final. So it will be our main goal.
Let's go Bayern!
All right, looking very good indeed. Well, the Scottish side certainly have been one of the surprise packages of the campaign so far due to their fabulous performances. And speaking of surprises, that's exactly what you can find in the Celtic Club Pack. Okay, well, let's find out then, shall we, who is going to be squaring off against one another in game one between Celtic and Bayern München. And it looks as though it's going to be the captain for the Scottish side, Kills You, someone who will very likely be firing out of the gate on all cylinders as one of the best players of the tournament so far. He's already scooped up an award for best player of the group. And on top of that, he's undefeated and certainly making all kinds of headwaves so far. He'll be going up against Jose, a very tough competitor indeed, as we saw earlier today, and someone who is very much locked and loaded with all kinds of confidence. This is a mouth-watering clash for us to start things off. Both teams, again, swinging for the hills, if you like, really going big in game one to set this tone properly for the first semi-final.
Two of my favorite players to watch going head to head here for game one of a semi-final is just it's exactly what you would expect at this level and at this stage of the competition. Kills You, for me, has been one of the most impressive talents in recent years in eFootball. His emergence since 2019 has just been on an upward trajectory since. On the other side, you have a Jose and a Bayern team, Wes, that just seems to have a bit of knockout football magic about them. They've done it in domestic competitions in the past. In this competition, surely they couldn't go all the way again, right?
Well, are they going to spoil the Celtic party? That's the real question here. We talk about players and we talk about favourites and Semra pointed out about preferred players. You can't have a preferred player here because there's so many different players that give you different things. For Kills You, it's firepower and it's the ability to execute complex moves in very tight spaces. Meanwhile, on Jose's side of things, it's the experience. It's that mentality of being able to grind out performances when you really need it. And all of these matchups that we're seeing, these players will know each other, but not to an extent where they'll know exactly what's going to happen here. We see differences in shapes. Celtic are 4-3-3, Bayern are 3-5-2. How much is that going to impact the way that these games form? Is a three at the back going to be overwhelmed by a three in attack? Are Bayern going to dominate the midfield? There's so many different questions here that we're only ever going to know once kickoff commences and once we get into these games.
We are moments away from kicking off the final four of this competition. We have Roma and Monaco waiting in the second semi-final, but our attentions first turn to this match that is very easy on the palate indeed. It is Celtic versus Bayern, Kills You versus Jose. And we are underway. Semi-final number one. Bayern versus Celtic. A reminder, this is a best of three here, but for now, I thought it was going to be Kingsley Coman. Almost said Kills You. He had some defending to do, Wes, but has conceded a corner here early on. Jose starting very well.
Well, this will be an early indicator in the sense of my thought process is, if you got your buy into the semi-final, are you now going to be cold coming into these games? And will, if Jose can get an early goal, is that then going to frustrate Kills-You? And is that going to frustrate potentially Celtic as a whole? Is that the game plan for Bayern Munich, to attack early, get that goal? And we're going to obviously find out as these games go on whether it's any type of effect.
And the corner comes to nothing in the end, but Bayern still retain possession afterwards, as Koeman, who had that early chance with a German club, is in possession currently. Now a chance to see Kills-You come forward. Hatate and Maeda will be two to look out for. Just the one featured player in their team, and I believe that is Callum McGregor. Of course, these squads locked at a dream team rating of 2,300, so you have to make decisions, and one decision has been made perfectly there by Jose to find Serge Gnabry. 10 minutes in, the first goal of our semi-finals is scored by Jose, 1-0 to Bayern.
Got himself off running very, very quickly. We talk about doing things that you're not expecting. When he's got that dummy there and it's Lewandowski, you think, oh, okay, he's gonna take the shot. He's gonna try and beat Joe Hart. Instead, looks for the pass inside, and we'll see it again here. You just see Sabitza's pulling up for it. You can see that Gnabry just sneaks into the shot and finds the back of the net. And you can see that Kills-You shaking the head already. He knows he's in a game here, and this will, again, how good are you, Kills-You? How good are you in these types of environments where you're under pressure? Again, we don't really know it from a 1v1 perspective how good Kills-You is underneath that pressure.
Something tells me there's going to be plenty of goals to talk about in the highlight package following this game. The first of which has come by way of Captain Jose. Gnabry trying to feed Koeman in behind, and this is, of course, a captain versus captain affair, if I'm not mistaken. This is Kills-You's first season as captain of Celtic FC. That ball has run all the way through, but a lot of pressure on Kills-You's shoulders this season, not only coming into a new team and coming out of his shell from a more conventional co-op play style, now into 1 versus 1s this season. His first real test of best of 3s in this competition, Wes, alongside captaining a new club. That is a lot of pressure to put on one player.
Yeah, it's huge, but if there's a player, as we've seen so far, that can shoulder that type of pressure, it is Kills-You. He had his breakout seasons in previous iterations of the competition. He's had a very, very good start to his performances in a Celtic shirt. But if anybody's going to shoulder that type of burden, it certainly is Kills-You.
Celtic in the final third now. Can't quite thread the needle. So far, Jose's defensive work rate has been very well, and Gnabry will shrug off Turnbull, who was giving chase. Just ramping up now at Bayern. Can Sane get his cross in? The answer is no. Of course, we'll keep reminding you throughout the day, this is no longer a case of goal difference, points, none of that. It's all about a best of 3 games. We will go to extra time and penalties if they are so required, which makes this all the more a nervous affair. Approaching the half-hour mark, here is Sane, just taking it beyond himself slightly, but the Celtic man does him a big favour and will grant Bayern München a corner now. Swung in very dangerously. You know how effective corners can be in eFootball. Kimmich with a stunning cross, and the header is there, but just underneath it was Robert Lewandowski. I think Kilsey is livid that his defence doesn't get anything on that.
Yeah, I think more so. I think as we saw in the top left-hand corner of your screen there, I think he's more annoyed that he's not had a lot of the ball. I think it's 70-30 in terms of the possession stat at the moment. He's not really had anything to kind of go on. And, you know, as much as we talk about, you know, as I said, we spoke about players potentially being cold. The advantage for those who have come in and already played a quarter-final is that you're already warm to what you're doing in the game. As you can see here, Jose trying to get through again, but you can see that the confidence is there from him. It's now just a case of Kilsey's got to get running here.
May just take him a little bit of time then to warm up. It's a good point you make, because Jose already having played not only a full 90 but a full 120, going all the way to penalties against the Palmer to open up the knockout stages. So plenty of game time under his belt. Of course, Kilsey would have been warming up, but tournament game time and practice game time, very different indeed. We'll see how long it takes Kilsey to warm up as Turnbull on the turn. He's shepherded away. Starting to have a bit more success now as Kilsey, and it's a bit of a mess, but he seems to see through the forest of players. He's trying to find a lane with McGregor attempting the pass, but Marcel Sabitzer is just on top of that back four. Back three, I should say. It's Maeda. Well, the referee had a good look at it, but it is cleared up the pitch. And a good end to the first half, I should say, from Kilsey of Celtic, but it is the German club, Bayern, who enter the break 1-0.
It feels a little bit like Jose is just blunting the sword of Celtic as we'll listen in.
Il y a un truc, il y a un truc. Le problème, c'est que si je prends le son joueur, je perds la balle.
So you mentioned Wes, just blunting the sword of Kilsey so far. How do you sharpen that sword again? Do you make any changes? Do you consult maybe your two teammates, Ayaz Babisk and Lotfi on the sidelines?
I think you lean on their experience and you say, look, I'm having trouble getting hold of the ball here. Like, you know, tactically, are there any switches we can make? I think when Celtic do get the ball, they need to retain it for a period of time, because at the moment Bayern just keep seeming to running all over them.
Good start to the second half, and who was that waiting at the near post? I think it was Kingsley Coman. Kyogo trying to bring the ball forward, but Jose has done well in the middle third of the pitch. The midfield battle certainly seemingly to be won by him. Hatate. That's a rare misplaced pass, and quite high up the pitch as well, but for some reason Kilsey just does not look himself so far today. Great ball to find Lewandowski down the channel, and we've seen this before. Out to say not where you want Lewandowski on the ball over on that far side, but I seem to remember saying that moments before a Bayern player has scored a goal in the past, so this time I'll shut my mouth. Corner then. Will come out to Kimmich, who goes for goal, had a clear sight of it. Wide this time though.
We're talking about player positioning. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I think these pro players look at things completely differently than how we would. We'd probably say, well, if you're on the touchline, there's nothing you can do to fashion a chance from there. And instead, they'll find skill moves, super cancels, dummies that will open up passing lanes. I think here, in these types of positions, as we just see the ball peter out again, for Kilsey, you've got to have a better quality of possession there. You know, yes, all right. If the chance doesn't open up, you have to utilise the ball that you have at your feet. You have to make the space.
C'est le match de eFootball là.
Aguanta un poco a Nabri, después mete a Coman un poco arriba, ¿no? Que a lo mejor tiene un poco más de estamina y luego ya.
Parce que là, tes frères, t'as eu 0 tir.
Tío, lo estoy intentando, pero ya me estoy cuadrando.
C'est pas normal.
Ya, tío, que
Moi, je
no
pense
bajes,
que t'as vu la
sigue.
que je pense.
Seguimos igual, nene. Vamos.
Well, that's one of the best player audios we've had so far. And it may sound a bit frantic to those at home, but I think it perfectly encapsulates how evenly poised this game is. Our mark has been and gone. Just one goal in it, and here is Forrest for Kilsey, just waiting for him to wake up in this game. It's dangerously across goal. But there are conversations being had. Both of these players consulting teammates on what to expect in this final half hour. Kyogo is through, and is Maeda there to give chase? Forrest wins the ball back fairly. Maeda is there. Still on here for Celtic.
Anywhere will do if you're Bayern. Anywhere will do to try and evade that type of pressure. But again, it's better quality of possession from Kilsey. It's more dangerous.
It's coming forward here again. Maeda is in the middle. Somehow does not come away with a goal. This is more like the Kilsey we know and love. Maeda coming through again, and Kyogo is there! And it's saved this time, but would not have counted anyway. Kilsey has woken up, and I think that will trouble Jose here in game one.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's from changing Kyogo into a centre forward and putting James Forrest out wide off of the substitutes bench. You've now got a Jetty coming on, who, again, for those of you who aren't well versed in Celtic's lineup, a Jetty is more of a physical presence. So if you're looking at Kilsey, you're probably looking for an aerial ball, and you can see that potentially Bayern Munich may be changing to a 5 at the back here, potentially.
Well, they started with a 3, so even if they don't opt for that 5, they've still stated their intent here with just pulling some bodies back to help out on the defensive side of the ball.
And interestingly, from our Spanish translator in the studio, Jose's been instructed to just try and mimic what Kilsey was doing from a tactical advantage, and again, it stands to reason. If somebody goes and plays a player out wide, you have to match it. You can't just leave him out there, especially James Forrest, who is as quick as he is and as nimble as he is. You can't leave him out there because he's a very, very potent threat in terms of a dribbling force within this Celtic side.
So play is underway once more. Maeda is getting so much more space now. The likes of Upamecano will need to be alert. Something that Jose has done well is read those types of midfield passes. It's been, for me, the difference maker so far. Robert Lewandowski on that far side again, trying to cut inside. He's won the ball back here, 15 minutes to go, beats his man. Sane is there. Good turn in the box as well. There are players lining up, and Coman is there. They were lining up and lining up. But Coman doubles the lead in game one. Jose looks on track to pull out another result here for Bayern München. 2-0 now.
Well, we talk about the ricochet off the post that falls into the path of Kingsley Coman, I believe it was. But it's Sane's feet. It's Sane's feet there, and it's the decisive move of the Celtic defender as well. Let's not just be said that it's just the skill of the Bayern player to open up the space.
Mais
it's the fact that Kilsey's gone the wrong way.
Hardcore, ma gueule. Ouais, c'est hardcore, frère.
So as a result, that goal again, you talk about it's a plus point from Bayern's point of view. It's a negative from Kilzu. Just guessed the wrong way, and as a result, Sane had all the time in the world to pick his opportunity out. And 2-0 to Bayern, 10 minutes left on the clock. This is challenging to say the least if you're Kilzu to potentially try and get this back even to level. This will be a very hard task for him, but we'll see how this pans out.
There is a player that can do it. It is Kilzu, and well, there is a chance here to get one back. And it is Ajeti. A real super sub for Celtic FC. And there is still time here, Wes. There is still time for Kilzu to come back.
There's enough time on the clock, and it's enough time to make a difference here. Again, ball's pinched in possession, pinched in transition. It's a cut across. It's a sliding opportunity as well. You know, we've seen those, as we saw in the Barcelona game. We've seen them go wide. We've seen them go into the back of the nets at times for Bayern Munich. Now Bayern Munich suffer a very similar fate here. From Celtic's point of view, it is now game on. It is very tentative. It's going to be cagey. If you're Jose, you're probably going to want to try and kill the game off. If you're, Kilzu, you're going to want to try and push the issue.
Push the issue and maybe push players up here as well. Here we can see what effect that latest goal from Kilzu has done to the players' philosophies here. We can take a little listen now.
Ça 3. Rien à perdre. C'est le maître, non?
Mira su formación.
Ouais. Son pied, son match est fini.
Vamos, Capi, tú puedes con esto, vamos. No se regala kickoff, vamos.
Voy para atrás y la tiro arriba, ¿no? ¿O qué?
Que tú te notes confiante, gordo.
También, sí.
It's a complete contrast, isn't it, to the frantic conversations that were happening around the hour mark. It's now, with 5 minutes to go, very much a more nervous affair.
Well, you just, at this point, you're trying to just take the emotion, the adrenaline out of the room. When you're scoring a second goal, everyone's shouting and hooping and hollering. The minute a goal goes in, though, all of a sudden the mood in the room will completely change. If you're Bayern, they've done essentially the right things. That's an unforced error there. I was about to say that from a formation standpoint, they've put in 3 defensive midfielders. They're trying to build that red brick wall that we saw before, but this could be a problem.
The keeper comes and punches, and Roman's defensive work is good enough for now. We're approaching the 89th, should I say 90th minute. An equaliser would come from Celtic. We would go to extra time. McGregor crossed in. Ajeti is there. There is still time to get this ball forward. But we are approaching the 3rd of 3 added on. Kilzu has done it with the last kick of the game in the groups, but the knockout stages might just be one too big a task for the young Frenchman.
Il me fait un quart de mauvaise décision, il rate des passes tout seul.
Celebrations in the Bayern camp.
Je peux pas aller.
1 foot in the eFootball Championship Pro 2022 Grand Finals. They are up 1-0 now in this best of 3. One word for that, Wes. Attritional?
Yeah, I think so. I think we look at the method in how Jose has pulled out another big performance for his team. I think we're going to have to find him a nickname of the spoiler, because he just seems to just be spoiling every attacking threat. It's Kilzu who was the next victim of his. Just could not get it going, and was left at long periods of that game being nullified. Manual saves we saw defensive blocks, we saw a lot of good work from him. You see another just off the post there. I mean, even if that doesn't hit the post, it's heading towards the goalkeeper. As you can see here, again another big opportunity, big manual save, but he was just offside anyway. But you can see here, this was the goal. You'll see the kind of definitive move there. You see that the defender has gone for the move and has given Sane the opportunity to turn the other way. So, you know, we look at individual errors and mistakes. We said at this level, this is what these players are going to seize upon.
At that point, at 2-0, the emotions very much contrasting on either side of the controller. But at 2-0, you're thinking, okay, yep, Bayern look in control now, but then, of course, Kills you said, well, don't forget about me, I'm the best player of Group A, and Ajeti, the sub, who you did mention, Wes, has been a very strong player for Celtic to bring on, slid one in, but it was just not enough. They left it too late, didn't they, Celtic?
Yeah, they did. I mean, again, you talk about the attacking threat that was there, but it was just too little too late in that game, and we'll see whether in game 2 Celtic can recover and bounce back it.
They're going to have to here, Semra, because right now Bayern, they're 1 foot in the finals.
And you've got to love the effusive celebrations as well from Jose and his teammates. So vocal in the way that they celebrated every goal there. They're really pumped with all kinds of enthusiasm, of confidence, of momentum, call it whatever you want. But it's certainly going to make things very tricky for Celtic in game 2. So let's go ahead and see then who is going to be in the lineup for this one, because Celtic will need to come out strong if they're to try and keep a foothold in this matchup. And it's going to be Lotfi. This is interesting. Lotfi, he started out the day as 5th in the goal scoring charts. He had 7 to his name, so they'll be hoping that he brings his goal scoring boots for today. But having said that, he's only picked up 1 win so far, and he's going to be going up against Mestre. Now, Wes, I think you called Jose the spoiler. Well, I think maybe we can call Mestre the cleaner. He already did it in the first match in the quarterfinals. He cleaned things up straight away in game 2 and took them into the semi-finals. He may just do the same here once again. They're certainly on a roll. Celtic do seem to be a little bit slow burning at the moment in terms of getting themselves up to pace and up to speed in the competition. So this really is a fascinating one, considering that Lotfi is kind of the one with the least amount of points so far for Celtic on the board from group stage. It's a bit of a switch up in terms of strategy from them compared to other clubs that we've seen so far today.
Yeah, you're probably looking at Lotfi as one of those players that you want to rely on for Celtic, but they just haven't been able to so far this season. When you look at his points tally, but the thing is, Wes, knockout football is the time to repay your club's faith in you, and if you can get a result here against Mestre, well, you'd forget all about the group stages, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's curious to see that it's not AS Babisk in game 2. But saying that, as you said, if Lotfi can deliver a performance here that gives them a win and gives them a lifeline, nobody will be talking about group stage performances. They'll all be talking about what happened in the knockout. So it's one of those games. It's hotly going to be anticipated. You're going to look at Mestre to be the attacking force he's been, but you're going to look for Lotfi to just try and secure a win in any way that he can. And this is it for Celtic. You know, we talked about how free scoring, how how they had probably, I think it was the maximum or the most points out of any club in the group stage, both across A and B. Now it comes to a choice of whether they can perform in this best of 3 format.
Well, we're moments away from kickoff. You can see the players just getting ready and loading into the game. So now's the time to thank Semra and the crew in the studio. And of course, thank you all at home for joining us. Semi-final number 1, game number 2. We're in best of 3s, so with Bayern 1 game up, Celtic have to win. Maeda gets us underway. It will be the Scottish club attacking from left to right, controlled of course by Lotfi. And on the other side you have Bayern with Mestre, who has time and time again come up trumps for Bayern. And I have a question for you, Wes. Do you think Jose and Mestre might be the best 1-2 punch that we have in eFootball Championship Pro. I might just come back to you as Celtic look to start this game off very strongly, but that one will dribble out of play.
Yeah, I think certainly as of now, in terms of in-form 1-2 punches, they're right up there. I mean, again, we've spoken at length about the quality of players across this competition. Again, it shows the level that these guys can get to, and how, you know, it's not always, you know, the one game that you see of them isn't always the most telling of them as individuals, as we're seeing at the moment.
Oh, Lewandowski almost running in behind. Both clubs starting off strongly, though. That's what we want to see. We love open games. Lotfi, though, needs to keep his concentration, especially at the back, because Bayern can be dangerous. Here is Kyogo. Through to Maeda. Handled well defensively by Mestre. Kyogo, that's a fantastic ball, and the strike's not bad either. Hatate with the double touch, but it's knocked behind for a corner.
Sometimes the eagerness can get to you when you've got this opportunity here. When it comes back to Hatate, the eagerness to jump in and try and take that ball back quickly. You have to maybe anticipate the fact that there's a skill move or a dummy or something coming back the other way. So it was good defensive work from Mestre, but Lotfi finds himself in a very profitable position here. Let's see if he can capitalise.
Celtic corner. Oh, it's a real hash made of it by the Bayern keeper. Lucky to get away with that one. Maeda. What can he conjure up here? Turnbull is battling for it, but Lotfi versus Mestre. I use the term so often, but it is e-footballing royalty. These two have clashed plenty of times on the international stage, club and country, in PES League in the past. It's been a joy to watch these two perform. There can only be one winner. 20 minutes gone. Lotfi has started this one a bit more brightly, as we maybe would have expected him to, Wes, knowing that he has to win this game too.
Yeah, it's nice to see him on the front foot in terms of his abilities, as we see going through here. He's just cut out at the last moment, goes for a corner ball. He knows he's got to, you know, you can't just grind out a draw or anything. It'll just go to extra time and the game will keep ticking. You've got to put something in and get the goal in.
Oh, that corner was so dangerous. Still to come in here, but this time the Bayern keeper able to claim. Lotfi, he is knocking on the door. And I think most importantly, he has successfully so far kept Mestre of Bayern pretty quiet. Not too much to write home about on the Bayern front.
Well, it's twofold with their goalkeeper, or at least there's a couple of things to look at, in the sense that it's not Manuel Neuer that's in goal, it's Sven Ulrich. Two things to point out. One, it's obviously to potentially help with keeping the collective strength of the teams down to 2,300. The other bit to point out about Manuel Neuer as an item or as a card in this game is his offensive goalkeeper trait. It basically means that he'll be out of goal kind of quite further up the pitch than you would normally see. We saw it in previous iterations of the games where we saw, beyond halfway goals because he was out of position. It's something that these guys will have taken into account and gone, well, actually, let's not have him in goal because it's a trait that could potentially cost us, but also lends itself to the fact that they're trying to keep the team strength down.
It's a good point you make, Wes. Of course, last season we saw 2 halfway line goals against Neuer, so Bayern obviously happy to learn their lesson. They're coming forward here. Sane to Coman. Improvised finish, but not on target. Good chance, though. More and more this game ticks on, the more Celtic, and no doubt Lotfi will be thinking, I have to win this game by whatever means.
Yeah, that's the key point here. Just get yourselves across the line. Doesn't matter how it comes, whether it's off of a shin, whether it's off of the back of the head, wherever which way it's going to happen. So long as you can make it pay and make it count, doesn't matter how you get there. It's so long as you get there.
Koeman into the feet of Gnabry, and Sane will gather. Kyogo now. Celtic can break here. Atate. No pressure on him. Very standoffish defence so far. Goretzka has physically taken him off the ball.
There will be 1 minute added time.
Referee having none of that one. Just the 1 minute added on of the first half. And Bayern, they still come forward. Litton though, stepping up, will signal the end of a first half that, despite being goalless, had its chances. And now at the break, as we take a look at some of the statistics, might be an opportunity for either one of these players to just reassess their teams and swap up some tactics perhaps.
Vamos por el bicho, vamos.
Putain, ultra def. Hein.
Hay que buscarlo.
Well, no time to pause. The second half is underway. And we heard the voice of Alex Alguacil there in the background. Almost turned cheerleader at this point. Saying, come on, let's go. There's a time to go. It's right now. We could secure our spot in the final here and now. All Bayern would have to do is win. If you're just joining us, do not forget there is no aggregate score. It's not about points now. It is a best of 3 games. Who can win 2 out of 3 games of eFootball? Koeman. Long ball for Lewandowski. Sandwiched between 2 defenders, but somehow it's away with the ball. It will result in a corner. For Schuler at that back post, and he's found him! Lotfi is absolutely incredulous. How did that find the head? For Mestre, it's brilliantly orchestrated to put Bayern into the lead 1-0.
Yeah, we saw Lotfi trying to pull off that exact same move, and you saw his opportunity hit the post. Instead, it's found ahead of Nicolas Soule. You can see creeping into the back post. We've seen this corner time and time again. It's about exception. You can see that the actual Celtic defender, he was trying to defend it actually off of the pitch. You saw the ability, or you saw the defender be off the pitch. And for as much as Lotfi may be complaining about that type of goal, he was trying to score it down the other end. So turnabout is fair play here.
Well, the unfortunate thing for Celtic fans watching is that may signal their cue to exit the competition. If it were to stay like this, Bayern would advance. Still a lot of time to play with. Ball into the feet of Turnbull, who's willing to make a run here for Celtic. Tate. Something tells me that was not the intended recipient for that one, and it's going to have to be a reassess, I feel, of the approach here from Lotfi, because right now Mestre Seems to be getting the better of him. Cuts inside here as well. Luckily, McGregor is there to clean things up. But once more, Mestre on this near side, twisting and turning and finding Lewandowski. The dummy just could not be controlled well enough here, Wes.
Yeah, a little bit too heavy of a dummy there. Just took it away from himself as well as the Celtic defender. Just didn't quite have the right amount of skill to keep that going. But again, it's all for Celtic to do now. They've got to find a way in.
Oh, my Aidan! Who is there? It's Hatate! They've got to find a way in, and find a way in they have.
That's more like it, Lotfi. That's more like it. Again, it was direct, and it was using that pace of Maeda against the back line of Bayern Munich. It was one ball there, gets through. It's a brilliant through ball, and again, it's a decent save from Ulrich. But again, it's the price you pay for having a goalkeeper that's potentially a little bit weaker than your number one. But those are the choices you've got to make in this format. Tate's there to swipe it home for Celtic. And we are back to level. It's back to as you were.
Nothing to be said there from Mestre. He knows when you take a shot early like that from Lotfi, there's always the danger of it being parried back into danger. And it's happened here. And a huge goal for Celtic season.
Perdu Maguire, le problème. Le problème, c'est que
Celui que j'ai perdu. L'autre Stroom devant.
Vale, vamos a ver cómo está el equipo y de eso nos movemos.
je veux juste pas avant de voir.
Substitution on the field. Number 14.
Interesting listening to
Number 41.
the two teams after that goal going in. Lotfi very much clear about what he wants to do. Mestre seemed to be more absorbing what his teammates were saying, maybe things to consider. Going forward here with Gnabry, but the ball in the end actually never even comes to him.
What's interesting about the tactical switches there, it's very much akin to the same type of tactical switch that we saw from Kills You in game one. Have a winger that goes out wide and try and draw the defence out.
Oh, Ajeti is in here! From 1-0 down to taking the lead in a matter of moments. And it could be huge from Lotfi to push this semi-final to a game 3 and keep Celtic's hopes alive.
It's real eye of the needle type of pass. You'll see it again here. It's from Callum McGregor outside of the boot, just rolls agonisingly through two defenders, and it's a Jetty again off the bench. It's that physical attributes, that physical to stay up and stand on feet. But even from that reaction, it's muted. They know that they've still, Celtic as a whole know they've still got to see this out to get it to game 3. That's the objective here.
No te estreses en eso. Te va a abrir el equipo, es lo que ha buscado tu partida.
Para attaquer, c'est vrai qu'avoir des latéraux, c'est pas bête.
Si van 2 o 3 pausas.
Un défenseur sur Soro. Et voilà, faut prier, hein. Prier les refs. Hein.
C'est ce qu'on fait depuis tout à l'heure, frère.
Banda derecha al extremo para que recibas solo. Que es donde tienes más descubierto tú.
Queda tiempo, vamos.
Vamos, Mestre, confía.
Substitution.
So we enter the final 15 in-game minutes with Celtic after being 1-0 down in the driver's seat now. And Mestre almost looked a little defeated before play resumed here. He knows how difficult it is to try and get a result from this position against a player such as Lotfi's calibre. And it's go time now for Bayern. Put it down to Gnabry. Koeman with the double touch, looking for Marcel Sabitzer. Oh, what a ball that is through to Maeda. If he can bring it under his spell well enough, it could have been a chance. End-to-end stuff here. Free kick, quite a ways out. Kimmich steps up and Hart has been shifted across to gather that one. Do we think, Wes, is that the last chance of game 2?
Well, if Kiel's performances in previous games have anything to go by, is until the final whistle's gone, there's always a chance here.
Gnabry can flash it across the face, perhaps. Koeman is there as well. Well, he's shepherded off the ball. And all eyes on the referee. What has he given? It is only a free kick, but it is right on the line. Flashed across the face towards Müller, but no contact made. Nervy moments there for Celtic.
Real heart in mouth moment there if you're Celtic. I think everybody in the ground probably thought that was a pen, but it was right on the edge. I think any closer into the box, that would have been a penalty. But again, Celtic won't mind. The danger has been cleared, at least for now. There's at least 3 minutes plus a little bit of change left on the clock. And Makana looks to recover that ball.
Want to go down the wing is
4 added minutes has been indicated.
Tackled well. 4 minutes added on due to all the stoppages here in the second half of game 2. If there's a time to get an equaliser, it is now. Another free kick gifted towards Bayern München. It could be decisive. Kimmich steps up over the wall. Corner. We saw Bayern's goal come from a corner, so not the worst result in the world, and that one was destined for the back of the net. So the wall doing its job well. Maintain concentration here is the name of the game for Lotfi. It's swung in, it's put in a dangerous area, but cleared away. Sabitzer. Can he turn? The answer is yes. Keeps the ball in play as well. So many Bayern bodies in there, and Koeman has stayed on his feet. Gnabry tackled by Bitton, and Mestre knows the game is over. We are headed to a decisive game 3 for the first time today. The two clubs trading games.
Ils sont nuls, frère. Faut juste pas sortir en fait. Tu sors pas, ils savent pas jouer.
Mestre knew it was in his hands at 1-0 up. But credit to Lotfi, credit to Celtic. They maintain their hopes here in semi-final number 1 as we head towards a game 3.
Yeah, and we saw that, like we said, that championship DNA that we saw from some of our players. We saw it from Lotfi in absolute abundance. Again, the ability to get himself back off the floor after conceding a set piece, getting himself back off the floor, making substitutes, making tactical switches, getting himself back into the game. It was great to see. I think he's incredulous at this point. He's certainly annoyed at this point that corner's got in. But to be able to recompose yourself, to be able to get yourself back into, the present, and to spot this type of pass. It was a great pass in to Maeda. Big save for the goalkeeper into the path of Hatate. We've seen it time and again in this competition that it's the first to react at rebounds. Hatate got them that foothold back into the game.
Yeah, sometimes you roll the dice with that type of chance. And one thing I love about Lotfi is when he's passionate, you'll be speaking to him normally, he'll have the deepest voice ever, and then when something goes against him, the voice enters the upper pitches of the octaves, but either way, this was the goal to send Celtic to a game 3 here against Bayern München. A incredible performance, an incredible one from Lotfi, and reminding us, Semra, that he is here to help his team into that grand finals. We're going to a game 3.
We are going to a game 3 indeed, and as you rightly say, for the first time today, if you can believe it. So we finally have a match where it's all going to be decided in that final game 3 of a particular matchup. So let's see then. We already know it's not last but not least, but you know it's going to be Asbebisk against Alex Alguacil, and this one really does have a lot of an intrigue factor to it. Asbebisk, we were talking about how it was a bit of a surprise him not going second, but perhaps it was a smart move by leaving him to go in game 3 to be the one to really take them into the final, because he's been very impressive in his return to this competition after a year off. 2 wins, only 1 loss so far for him, and he really has been a major threat for the Scots. Alex, he hasn't played yet today. He also has been very disappointing in this season, and he hasn't won a single game so far. So the pressure perhaps is going to be on him to really step up and deliver if they're going to go through the German side. So a very interesting one indeed. How do you see this one playing out between these two?
Yeah, I think disappointed is the right term to use for Alex's season. I know fans of his won't want to hear it, but knowing Alex as we do, he expects the best out of himself. He expects much better results, much better performances. The beauty of it by Mestre losing that game 2 is that now he gets to prove to his teammates, his clubs, his fans that he is here and he deserves to be at this spot. He has to go up against, though, a very strong player in Asbebisk. When you look at the points accrued throughout the group stages between the two players, the disparity is quite large in favour of Asbebisk. So Celtic fans will be looking at this one with, big eyes, thinking that, hey, there's a chance for us to get to the grand finals tomorrow through Asbebisk, but Alex has a point to prove here, Wes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We go into this kind of scenario where actually the storyline is pretty simple. You have a player who is basically has kind of almost, as we said, flattered to deceive. We've seen use that phrase a lot in terms of players who have not quite brought themselves almost to the figurative dance, as it were, in terms of Alex Alguacil. And on the flip side of that, for Celtic, you have a player who has a very big chip on his shoulder, as we've seen from Asbebisk, and we saw from other players in this competition. Some may have raised questions as to their inclusion in these sides, but Asbebisk has proved it all the way through. He's proved it through all of these games that we've seen so far. He's absolutely worth this slot in this Celtic side. So you have grudges to bear on both of these players, and now it comes down to the knockout part of this, where it is now, this is it. For one of these teams, someone's going home, figuratively, of course, because we are remote in these times. But somebody's going home. Somebody's going out of this competition. It's either Bayern or it's Celtic.
It's the last dance for one of these two clubs in this season's competition. In terms of getting a grand finals place, of course, the losers of each semi-final will play tomorrow in a third place playoff to decide, of course, the third place club in this season's competition. But as we are just watching over the players getting ready, setting up their teams, a thank you to Semra and the team in the studio who have gotten us to this point. A do or die tournament life match between Celtic and Bayern. I mean, I'm no body language expert, Wes, but Asbebisk looks very hungry and very up for this.
Yeah, he does. He's looked like that throughout the entirety of this competition. He has very much looked like hey, this is me. I'm proving my point here and now. Whereas with Alex, we've earmarked him as a player who probably keeps a little bit more emotion to, in terms of emotional cards, he keeps them to his chest. So I think there's going to be an internal desire with Alex that he'll want to see this through for his team. And then on the flip side, as we've said, Asbebisk will want to put that marker down to say, hey, I'm getting us to the finals here. This is my opportunity. So there's all of these different types of quandaries and questions that we have to answer. We'll certainly find them out during these potentially 90, if not 120 minutes of gameplay and potentially a penalty shootout. We'll certainly find out who is worth their mettle in this competition.
Both lineups locked in, both players locked in and ready to go. Game 3, a deciding Game 3 between Celtic Football Club and Bayern München in the eFootball Championship Pro 2022 season. By the end of this game, we will have our first grand finalist. Will it be Celtic or will it be Bayern? The players are Ayaz Babisk and Alex Alguacil. Two incredible players. They could not be set up more perfectly here. If you're thinking about nervy games, this is one of the most nervous situations you can be as an e-footballer. One of the most nervous situations, of course, second to being in that final in this comparable situation, but knockout football comes with all kinds of pressure. Pressure makes diamonds. Here is Goretzka just taken down by Carter Vickers, and this one will be an early corner for Alex Alguacil of Bayern.
Yeah, I don't know about your heart rate, Harry, but mine's up just watching it. I don't know how these guys will feel being in it. It's certainly, for the opening 10 minutes, it's been all Bayern.
Corner coming in, and again looking for the big frame of Sula, and Koeman has gone all the way through. Not a single Celtic player stepping up, and Kingsley Coman just waltzes his way through, gets the strike away. It's on target. It's 1-0.
So there's an issue with that, in the sense of when Koeman picks this ball up, because of the heavy touch that's taken into the box, you'll see here, if anybody even goes about touching it, it's a penalty. So if you're Ayaz Babisk, you've got no choice but to essentially let that happen, because you can either be down to 10 men, you could be conceding a penalty. Again, the corner causes enough chaos as it is, and to kind of steal your words from earlier on, it was a bit of a shallow clearance to begin with. But as soon as Koeman takes that heavy touch into the box, Celtic can't touch him, and as a result, it allows that opportunity there. And you can hear the almost muted celebration, because again, as we've said, early goals mean absolutely nothing. It gives you an opportunity, it gives you a platform, sure, but it means nothing in the grand scheme of things at the moment.
A great assessment of it, Wes, that the touch and the momentum in which Koeman was coming onto the ball meant that Celtic were just left watching helpless. Alex Alguacil, though, in the driver's seat. This is game 3 of a best of 3. But still plenty of time on the clock. Alex, though, has started off really well. Arne with the cross in, looking for Lewandowski. This will be another corner. We saw chaos from the first, Wes. It could be a case of double trouble here.
Yeah, and that's the issue. Every time a corner is given away in this competition, I think viewers at home, ourselves in the commentary box, I think we're looking at this and going, it's as good as a penalty, because of the way, if you can time your delivery perfectly, if you can time your run perfectly, especially if you've got physical attributes in the box and units in the box, such as Lewandowski, Sula, and alike, and Upamecano, you've got plenty of options to aim at. So I think for these guys, they're vital.
Of course, we have to remember when these two met in the group stages as well. It was 2-1 to Ayaz Babisk, and I hate to say, but Alex Alguacil tests the keeper again. Scored first on that occasion as well.
Yeah, will history repeat itself is the real question here. I think it's a big save there, and again, a little bit of a variant of that corner, as we've tended to call it now. Heading it back across goal, heading it back. If you know the opportunity is not on to shoot at goal, head it back across, cause the defence to have another question about it. And again, at the moment, it is all Bayern. And these switches, as we'll see here, these numerous switches in corner taker, it's to disrupt that defensive unit. It's to disrupt it. As you'll see, every time the player gets dragged out, it's a case they've got to drag them back in again. So you've got to be mindful of everything that's around you if you're Celtic.
It will be another corner. More gamesmanship, more switching to try and find that hole. And more time for Asperbisk to guess when that delivery's coming in. It's so dangerous the way it flashes across goal. But Sabitzer this time can't get his effort on target. It was a tough angle, but pressure relieved off of the Celtic back line for now.
Yeah, momentarily away from Celtic's back line, but again, it's now going to be a case of, as we said during Kilsyu's game, it's about quality of possession. When you get the ball, if you're Celtic, for example, you have to utilise that possession correctly. If there's not an opportunity on, you're going to have to be patient, as we see Asperbisk try and force it through. Instead, you're going to have to try and be patient here and give yourself a bit of wiggle room and move players forward.
Ball through to Lewandowski. So we just take a moment to sit back and appreciate the action on the stage that we have in front of us. Kyogo is unable to bring the ball under his spell. Both players, by the way, locked in completely. Concentration levels utmost, but that's a huge mistake. It's an absolute clanger to be dropped by Alex Alguacil. A gift. And as I'm talking about concentration, it's the commentator's curse. It's 1-1.
You need to stop talking, Harry. That's what you need to do. No, but you can see here, you can see what Alex is trying to do. He's trying to build up from the back. The issue becomes is that he's chosen the wrong player to go back to. So from Makano back to Ulrich, you can see Maeda is just going to close that down immediately. And again, for a player like Asperbisk, he will take those gifts all day long. He won't mind. It's level now. It gives you a different base to work with. And I think even if you look at the Celtics lineup, potentially that is a real get for them. They've got themselves back into the game. It's now going to be a case of who takes the next step.
1-1 then. Alex will be ruining the mistake, and for Asperbisk, it's somewhat of a lifeline. Maeda still coming through with the ball here. Don't forget when these two met in the group stages. Finished 2-1 in favour of Asperbisk. The question we were asking ourselves is history going to repeat itself? So far, it's looking like it might just. Gnabry here turning really well. No options for a pass, so went for goal. Serge Gnabry, that is a slicing ball, and it's waiting here for Lewandowski, but off the frame. How big a chance might that be in the grand scheme of this semi-final?
2 minutes has been indicated.
Now Hatate coming the other way, trying to make Bayern pay for their missed opportunities. But that is the fine margins we're working with here. Half time, 1-1.
Yeah, every chance is golden at this point. Every chance is vital. You can see Bayern have had the majority of chances. They've had the majority of the ball. but you can see that the majority of the ball has been with Bayern. So it's not through damage that AS Babisk has managed to get that goal. It's just through fortune because Bayern gave it away.
Lewandowski, surely. Is he offside? I thought the flag was going to come up, but the answer is no. Not offside. A Celtic defender playing him on after the rebound. And it's Alex back in front.
Keep your eyes at the bottom of your screen. Well, at least at the bottom of your screen if we had a different type of camera angle. Have a look at your player who's right next to Sane. I believe it might have been Taylor. It may have been. Where he's kind of dribbled it or where he's ran in to kind of take care of Sane. It's just not exited enough in time. And as a result, Robert Lewandowski, as the predator that he is, he will take it.
Partido serio, por favor, vamos. Lo estás haciendo muy bien. Vamos, vamos.
You can see that Alex is there going, yep, we've got this. We've got this in our hands. And they have got it back in their hands again. And again, if you're AS Babisk, I think that the worry here is, as we said before, if chances are coming all the time for your team, then you'll be like, oh, okay, well, we've got plenty of chances. The only chance he's had is from a Bayern mistake. Everything else has been Alex Alguacil and has been Bayern. So where do your chances now come from if you're AS Babisk?
Well, Alex is looking to turn the screw. Cross goal to Sabitzer. Celtic living dangerously here indeed. The referee will relieve some of that pressure. If you're a Celtic fan and AS Babisk, you're probably hoping for another commentary curse from me. I'm afraid that may be the last you'll see of the curses today. That remains to be seen, of course. For now, though, Sane cannot bring the ball forward. There are the gaps at the back here. That's what AS Babisk is looking for. We're on the hour mark now. Around the time where those substitutes can be the most important decision you can make in a game. Of course, these players have to remember to keep their dream team lineups under a collective strength of 2,300.
I think it may be time for a jetty if you're Celtic. If you're looking at that as your out ball, if you're looking at it as we're getting the ball up front and we're trying to cause issues, it might be time for the physical presence, because Maeda, the more tired he gets, the less likely he is to win those headers against the likes of Upamecano and Sule. It may be time for it.
Different dimension may be needed then for Celtic Football Club as they trail here. And Sabitzer, I'm not sure that Alex knew he was in possession of the ball there. But here is the pause with the expected changes, no doubt coming with it. Let's take a listen to our players here in this game 3 of semi-final number 1.
Son los feelings que tú tengas, a lo mejor no sé si 4 atrás. Es que lo que tú hayas ensayado para que si tú llegas en el 65 ganando hubieras puesto.
Miula y salgo por la izquierda con
2301, Alex.
Sí.
Vale, no salgas del pause hasta que te lo digamos nosotros.
Si hago otro cambio, lo se va, así que no hay problema. Por eso.
Vale.
Hago los dos, me espero.
Claro, haz el que te deje 2300 al menos. Si no, cambia los dos. Puedes meter a Coman por Nabri de delantero, si no, a lo mejor.
Puedo hacer esto solo el primer David.
Vale, eso como tú te veas.
Eso sí, si tú lo quieres, si quieres hacer un cambio, sí, pero el otro no, porque si no, 2-3-0-1.
Claro.
Vamos.
Cuidado con eso, ¿vale? Y eso, Alex, a lo mejor una jugada más, en plan, te ves cómo estás atacando y eso, y no la pierdas. O sea, te ves una jugada, te ves cómo la defiendes, y si no, yo pondría a lo mejor 75 los últimos 15 minutos, igual sí que metería algo más de muralla. Pero lo que tú veas.
Ya.
No, solo te pido que no regales. La que veas medio dudosa.
The benefit we haven't really spoken about yet, Wes, is the fact that we are in a game 3 now. And the players that are communicating and giving you advice are two players that have already played against this Celtic lineup. They know the strengths of the opposition's dream team, what changes are necessary to see out this game.
Number 58.
Corner to come here for Bayern. Headed away, and there are the changes that we somewhat anticipated with Ajeti coming on. And there could be a Celtic break on here, as Ayaz Babisk looks to get back into this game. Good defensive work from Alex Alguacil, and now time maybe to spring an attack of his own.
Yeah, I think the telling point from there is, yes, you do have the advice of the two players who've already played. The telling part for me there is the fact that Bayern were trying to make substitutions, and you could see it was just about to creep up past 2,300. They then have been almost forced to make another change to bring it back down. So you're almost having to make changes that you may not necessarily want to make, just to make sure that you are still underneath that level. Because you could see them working it out, going, well, could we put him here? Does that put the team strength over the top? And you could see them actively trying to work it out as to what position they could put players in. So you can see the dynamics that are at work here.
Well, you can't afford to upset that balance, and you can see there the collective strength in the bottom right-hand corner of the Dream Team sheet. That number has to be below 2,300.
Eso como tú te veas, tío. Son 15 minutos que valen una final, Alex? Vamos. Piensa en Müller, si lo necesitas por lo de Sané, y cuadramos química antes de salir. Eso como tú lo ves.
Sí, te tiene que estar.
Allez, voyage que ton jeu. Hein. Quand t'es avec un milieu, tu cherches un 3.
Fais tes phases. Après, si on perd, c'est pas grave. C'est que j'avance, frère. Après, j'avance avec Soro. Après, la récupère direct.
Ah, mais là, c'est pas toi. Mais juste. Petit frère. Tu cherches un. Milieu de terrain, tu cherches une solution, gros. S'il n'y a pas de solution, je te dis quoi? Carré croix, frère. Je t'ai pas vu en faire un depuis le début du match. Et le MR, Soro, tant pis, ma gueule. Hein. Pas de mytho. Hein. Parce que t'as vu.
But we see these two teams taking every single precaution they possibly can at this moment. There is so little time left. I think around 15 in-game minutes left for either Bayern to hang on to their lead, or Celtic to chase the equaliser, and after that, potentially a winner themselves. We're underway once more. These two players, these two clubs, have been difficult to separate up to this point. Game 1, 2-1 to Bayern. Game 2, 2-1 to Celtic. 10 in-game minutes to go.
See every pass and every touch of the ball is almost counting double at this moment, and that's the pressure cooker that we're under. It's very much been cranked up to 11, given the complexities and how much time we've got left and what this will mean to both teams.
Every in-game minute is going to seem like an age to Alex Alguacil at this point, but Serge Gnabry is in behind. Luckily, the defensive work rate of Ayaz Babisk is enough. Operation take time off the clock here for Bayern. Davies versus Turnbull on that far side. Don't be surprised to see Davies try and dance around this and kill off the clock as best he can. This control, though, will gift possession back to Celtic with time still left within the 90. It's go time for Celtic. At this point, anywhere will do for Bayern. Nervy final moments. 2 minutes added on. That is a minimum of 2 for Ayaz Babisk and Celtic. And here they come, but they've given the ball away. And Alex boots the ball into touch and silences the haters. Our first eFootball Championship Pro 2022 finalists.
Partido más malo hecho, tío.
Bayern München.
Please drink responsibly. Anyone appearing intoxicated or
You heard what it meant to them. Commiserations, of course, to Celtic Football Club. They will fall in our first.